Hello, everybody. Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Sun Talks by the International Students and Scholars Center. I am your host, Ryan Arshwin. So let's get started, shall we? Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast. And today I'm joined by two really cool and amazing people from the ISSC. And I want to introduce them to you guys. So, welcome, Christina and Vishvali. Is this your first time?
It is.
Yes.
My first time ever doing a podcast.
Are you guys excited?
I'm very.
Of course.
Me too. I'm really excited too. So, tell me about who you are, what you do in the ISSC. And yeah.
Want me to go
wanna start?
first?
Yeah, anyone can go first. Yeah.
My name is Christina Scialoia. I am, my official title is Manager of International Student Advising. My main role is leading the front office team for the ISSC. So we have about 20-ish student workers that work on our team, and then 3 coordinators, professional staff members. And that is my team. So yeah, that's what I do.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vishvali Deo. I am a student of Masters in Robotics and Autonomous Systems. I came here last fall, so I'm halfway through my degree.
Nice.
And I'm a student worker at ISSC. My title is Client Services Assistant. So the e-forms that you guys submit, and we tell you to wait for 7 business days because I am the one processing. Of course, my colleagues too, but yeah, I am the one.
Amazing. Thank you guys for introducing yourself. So, we talk a lot about the front desk and the front office in this podcast. So, what do you guys actually do? Like, you touched a little bit about the forms and the questions and all that. But, like, do you want to go in depth about what kind of questions come in always?
Yeah. I feel like we should both answer this. I feel like we have different perspectives, right?
Yeah.
So we call it the front office team, and I think that has historically just been because we are physically in the front. But we handle all incoming phone calls. So whenever somebody calls the ISSC, they'll be reaching the client service assistant team. We also handle any walk-ins. So if you ever come visit us in person, you'll be greeted by one of our front office team members. And then we handle a lot of processing for e-forms. So we are part of the advising team. So anytime that you come to the ISSC for any type of immigration advice, you have the ability to talk to an advisor. We work very closely with the advising team. So we do a lot of the front loading work for them.
Right.
We look at any e-forms that you submit kind of before an advisor lays eyes on them, and we really work with them to make sure that students' immigration questions are getting answered. It's not only immigration questions that we deal with, but with the advising team, it's mostly F1 student immigration.
Right.
Yeah.
So Christina pretty much summed up everything that the front office
Nice.
But I'll tell you from my perspective, as I mentioned before, the e-forms, of course, and the phone calls we attend to students at the front desk. And the most important part is we are the face of ISSC.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're just right there. Whenever like students enter the student services building, they're just like right on the left-hand side. Yeah.
So we get a lot of queries of where this office is, where should I go for my financial aid, for my housing, all of that. So apart from the programming team, of course, because we are physically in the front office, so we like to call ourselves like the face of ISSC.
You're like the Sparky of ISSC.
Yes.
Exactly.
The ambassadors.
The ambassadors of ISSC.
And we have a big kind of inviting window. So, I mean, anybody that comes into the building, right? We're in the student services building, so there's a lot of other important offices there. So they tend to just gravitate towards our big inviting window.
It's really nice though. Everyone's just always, whenever even I walk past, I'm just like, everyone's so smiley and happy. I'm just like, I just want to talk to them and just chat. Just like, how's your day?
Definitely a lot of chats that happen.
And if we see someone, if I'm at the front desk or my colleagues, if you see someone who's confused, looking around, we call them out. Hi, how can I help you?
There's a lot of confused students. I've seen them. Yeah. Thanks for helping us out.
Pleasure.
And with that, like you said, there's a lot of students that come with all kinds of questions, right? You mentioned immigration to some of them, and obviously there's a bunch of others as well. But is that the only way they can reach out to you? Because I think for the first thing they would want is, can I talk to someone in person, right? Because they might think that's the fastest way to get the help they need. But is there any other ways that they could navigate and ask those questions if needed?
Yeah. So I think it depends on what your problem is, right? What your issue is. There's some, and mind you, I'm talking about immigration here. So most of, not all of the time, but a lot of the time when students are reaching out to us, it's for an immigration need, right? Like I said, we have a whole experience team and a whole programming team that is, very much involved in events, but usually when students are reaching out to us during business hours, it's with an immigration need. There's a lot of different things that we work with underneath that immigration umbrella. So there's some processes that are very quick and we can resolve in the front office. And there are other ones that might take a little bit more kind of in-depth one-on-one, conversation with an advisor. It might take having, looking a little bit more in depth into your immigration record. And so our job in the front is really to kind of understand what you're coming to us for,
right?
And to help you navigate whether it's something that we can resolve quickly and we can resolve here at the front, with just you calling, or just you, showing up with a letter that you need signed, for example, or if you need to go to an advising session. So we have every day except for Wednesday, twice a day, we have 2 opportunities to come into one-on-one immigration advising. And if we feel like that's something that you need, we'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a few of the ways that students can reach us are, of course, by email, telephone, or coming up to the front office. And we generally advise students based on their query, whether they need to go to the advisor or if we can answer their questions or we can direct them to the many resources that we have. So one of the great resources that I would recommend all the students to check out is the ISSC website.
Right.
They've really revamped it for the beginning of the new year.
It looks so nice now.
Yeah. If you and I do this like probably 20 times a day. So if you Google anything that you are trying to come to us for with ASU ISSC after it, a web page on that specific topic is going to pop up.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really helpful.
Yes. And there's some times where students just come to us because they want to talk to a human, which makes sense. I think, sometimes we see things written on a website and we still don't believe it until we talk to a human, right? So I understand that too. I do that too. But a lot of the time, if you just come to the office and we can tell that you haven't done any kind of research on your own, we're going to send you a link to a web page.
You got to go back there and check it out again.
Not to say that we won't continue the conversation with you, right? Because you could read that web page and not understand fully. You could read that web page and still have questions.
Right.
But I at least need you to have that kind of basic level knowledge before we continue.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Having said that, some of the issues are too complicated just to read over a website and decide for yourself. So we do recommend that students come to us, call us, email us, or come to our office. Maybe we should start a texting advising too.
Oh, that sounds cool.
That would be like Gen Z.
Yeah, like how you do for in-person advising for immigration, right? Having like 2 days of the week, maybe like certain hours, they can text.
We used to have a chat function and we don't anymore, but who knows? Maybe it will come back up at some point.
Yeah, we never know. Things keep developing, right?
Especially because we have so many engineers in ISSC now.
Yeah, there are a lot of them.
AI developers.
They can help do the job. With that, there's a lot of now it's going to be the fall semester, and a lot of students are coming in with a ton of questions with their F1 status and other documents as well. And it can be a bit overwhelming, right? Because there's sometimes for you seeing those questions again and again, it's repetitive, but for them it's completely new.
Right.
So during these times, like during when you're having all these big crowds coming in, how do you manage that? Because sometimes I notice like there's like lines that can wait up for like an hour-ish, and sometimes it's just empty. So how do you manage that crowd? Or what are the good times do you suggest for them to visit the office if you notice there's like empty slots for them to come in?
So I think we're all ready. We are all geared up for the fall semester. Yeah, we are always ready.
Yes.
Because we
stay
love
ready.
Yeah. Stay ready.
we love serving our students. So but the best time currently is the mornings.
Right.
And up until 10 or 11 o'clock. That is when there's least people around, so least waiting times.
And you have to wake up before 10.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, do you want to wake up? I mean, you can. So at least they know.
Yeah.
I think it's like from 8 to
We work from
10-ish?
8 to
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
So 8 to 10, 11 is not so busy.
Right.
But around 12, it starts getting a lot busier.
Yes.
Right.
And I would say there's a reality here too. And the reality
Right.
is that ASU has a massive international student population,
Yeah,
right?
we
all
do.
know
Highest
this.
in the country.
Highest in the
That's-
country.
yeah.
Before working in the ISSC, I worked in international offices in Boston at some pretty well-known schools, and the population size didn't even come close.
Wow.
It doesn't come close anywhere, really. And so with that, that's why we have so many of our processes automated, right? So
Right,
for
yeah.
the reality of kind of just the size of our population and the way that we have already structured things is that we have a lot of e-forms in place. We have a lot of like automated emails that go out in place. And it's so that we can deal with the size of the population
Right.
more effectively. Just comparatively, ASU... truthfully, like the second biggest school in the country doesn't even come close as far as like size of international student population. This is the top destination for international students in the country.
This is where everyone comes.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, we are expecting, like, this is a good example. So the start of the semester is usually our busiest season.
Yeah.
We're expecting to check in about 4,500 new students
Wow.
in the next few weeks, really, in the next couple of weeks. So students have to complete their CVIS check-in by the first day of classes, right?
Yeah.
And so those have already started to roll in because students can come into the U.S. Like up to a month before classes start. And so we're starting to do that. We're starting to make our way over. And that's super exciting. What we put in a lot of our our email templates, a lot of our communication, that if you have completed the CVIS check-in and you have gotten an email that we have received it, it could be a little bit before we process it. So, and it's just due to the sheer size of the population, right? We have 4,500 students that we're expected to welcome, and maybe like less than 20 people that are working on processing all of these check-ins, right?
Yeah.
And when we go through them, we're making sure that that the process ran smoothly when you came into the country, right? That you were entered in the correct status and all of that. And sometimes we do catch mistakes, right?
Yes.
And so we do have to be, go through them pretty meticulously in order to make sure that all ASU students are have arrived safely, and arrived in the correct visa status, because there's so much that goes on out there in the world at the port of
Yeah.
entry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So me and my supervisors, we have to be hawk-eyed to see whether the visa is right, the
Yeah.
I-94 is correct, they've paid the I-901 fee, and the rest of the profile, the immigration profile, matches up to what we expect it to be.
Yeah. So sometimes, and we do also when we process, whenever we have more questions or something that we need students to be aware of, we always reach out. We'll always reach out. And so whenever you submit something to us, whether it's a CVIS check-in or a social security letter request or any type of employment request, you can rest assured that if you submitted it and you got confirmation that you submitted it, that we're looking at it, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes if you submit something and then you email us right away, then we're focusing on answering your email, right? And not necessarily processing your check-in. And so the more that happens, the more students that we have kind of checking in saying, did you get my check-in? The more time that we have to spend on, replying to all of that instead of using the business hours that we have during the day to approve them. And we do end up, especially with check-in, we'll be working with students for halfway through the semester on check-ins, just, on follow-up and things like that. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes for sure.
Yeah. So like in the realm of like processing documents and all of that, what would you say the processing time is for students to wait for? What can they wait for? Let me rephrase that question. What's usually the processing time for them to hear back about the documents that they sent in? Because I know some of them, they send in within 24 hours. They're like, no, I haven't heard anything back. What do I do now?
Yeah.
Did they not get it? Did they not see it? So how long do they wait before they can, if they want to come and check in again, when can they do so? Or if it's necessary for them to do so?
Yeah, so this is the most asked question on calls and at the front desk.
Right.
So we always tell students we have a policy of 7 business days of processing. That business days means it does not include the weekends as well as ASU sanctioned holidays. So if you say 5 days a working week, then maybe by 1.5 weeks you should hear back from us, either a follow-up or an approval or something. So if you do not hear by that time, then always you can reach back.
Yes. And it is good to note too that we don't always take the full 7 business days, right? So sometimes we need to, sometimes there's follow-up we need to do, there's conversations that are happening kind of behind the scenes and, or, there's just a lot of volume and it's slowed down because of that. But there are plenty of times where we're able to turn over e-forms in 1 to 3 business days. And so that's a possibility as well. But I would say once it gets past that 7 business days is a good time to follow up with us, not before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 business days, you just gotta wait for that.
Yes.
Okay. When students come in with questions and paperwork that they need signed or whatever, when they come up to the front desk, what do you have? What would you like them to prepare before that?
So first of all, when they come in, they need to have their student ID because that is what we need to access their information so that we can pull up their records and answer them accordingly.
Right.
And we do not really expect this from students, but it's always a good practice, as Christina said before, to Google the topic that you want the answers for and then just go through it so that you are aware of what we are saying. Otherwise, many a times we have students who don't know what OPT is or how pre-OPT is different from post-OPT or what is STEM extension. So it's always a good idea because you're an international student. So you need to maintain your status.
Right.
So you need to be aware of those terms and have a basic idea so that when you come to us, you understand what we are trying to tell you.
Yes, very important. At the end of the day, every individual's immigration status is their own responsibility, right? And we're here to help navigate the process, right? So we're the experts on this. We study it all day long. We talk to students all day long, and it's we're working in this field every day. So we don't expect students to know trends or that type of thing. But when it comes to kind of the basic functions of what it's like to be on a student visa, right? You should know at least the very basics. And that's something that you build over the course of time too, right? You don't just come your freshman year and know everything about everything like related to F1 immigration, right? It's like over the course of maybe your bachelor's or your graduate degree, you're going to learn more and more as you go through those processes, right? You don't really know what it's like to apply for a social security number until you apply for a social security number.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when the students come up to the front desk, y'all are there ready for them, right? Let's just say y'all are just ready for all of them.
Ready,
Always ready for them to come in now.
Stay ready.
Stay ready. Right. So when they come in, they see like, yes, the people up in the front desk, right? And then they can notice like some people in the cubicles at the back. So would you like, any of you just want to talk about like, what do y'all, like the front desk people, like the up front people do? And what are some of the things that people in the back do?
Yeah. I would say, and this is something that we talk a lot about in training, right? Because the way that people are seated in the ISSC really like differentiates our jobs, I feel like. There's the people that sit in the front, at least on my side, so where my office is on the front. We are, I would say our main job is to know a little bit of everything, just a little bit of everything, right? The people in the back, a lot of them are immigration advisors, and they do a lot of kind of specialized processing. Right. So a lot of the advisors that work on our team have specific processes that they work with every day, and they are either working one-on-one with students, like having conversations, advising conversations, or they are processing. And so they are kind of they dive deep into different immigration topics, whereas my team in the front, we've been exposed to kind of all of the different types of questions, right?
Yeah.
Just because we're the first person that people see when they come to the ISSC. So I like to say that we're generalists, right?
Yes.
And our advisors are specialists. That's kind of how we differentiate between us within the advising team, but then there's other teams in the ISSC too. Like we have our tech team that is going to do all things related to tech. And our social media, student workers work under the tech team too, right? So we have programming, obviously, and experience, and we run so many different events, both general and for specialized populations. And then, we have our sponsor team. We have our scholar team. So, our J1 scholar population is supported by the scholar team. And so we're all one department. And just the way that we function is mostly with students and working with the advisors.
So we are the frontline firefighters, if you can say that. if you have a burning immigration question.
That's a good way to put it.
That is a good way to put it, yeah.
So we are the ones who will direct you to the appropriate resources. And if that entails talking to an immigration advisor, that is what the back offices are for.
Right.
So that will check you in, and an advisor will tell you that an advisor will come get you shortly. Then after a bit of waiting time, because we have a lot of students coming in for advising now, the advisor will come in and call out your name because you are in the waiting area, and then you can ask any question you have about immigration to them.
Sounds good. So, speaking about questions, what are some common questions that comes up? Like, what are the common themes besides immigration that always comes up?
It's about where this office is, how do I access this resource, and we are trained to do exactly that. So that is fine. We do not mind the questions because sometimes the people are there's a lot of hesitation. Should I go up to the front and ask them? Because they can see it's international student center.
Right.
So they don't want to come to us with a scholarship question. But we are trained to help you with resources. We may not have the idea of what you're talking about, but we can certainly direct you to the right resource. So that is one of the most asked questions. Then the other is about processing times and about when it's the travel period during the breaks.
The travel signatures?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can talk about that. I would say the way that our team is trained is, I would say like 90% of what we're dealing with day to day is immigration related. We do get other types of inquiries, but because other teams will communicate differently to students, right? Communication about programming and events happens kind of outside of what we do. Just if you come to the office during normal business hours, that's mostly an immigration need. So the majority of the time, our student workers are talking to students about immigration, but it's a lot of kind of the more general and kind of basic things that we say things that are published on our website already. So we have to do a lot of kind of directing back to the website. But our CSAs will do a lot of helping students navigate that and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Are there any like funny or weird or out of the blue questions that you've gotten?
We do get questions about I'm being scammed. And last semester we had a student come up saying that he got a scam call and what should he do. He was concerned that his status was in jeopardy. So then me and my supervisor went through his profile and everything was right. So we told him it's a scam call, but he was really anxious. He was hyperventilating because the students have loans, they have debts.
Right.
So when the scammer tells them that you might be deported soon.
Yeah.
So
that's incredibly scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think scams occur a lot among international students because it's a vulnerable population.
Yes.
And they know who to, in a way, attack.
Yeah.
And get what they want, essentially.
Yeah. That's something, especially for new students, to be aware of too. Because I would say, if you're going to scam an international student, what better time to do it than when they first
Most
arrive,
valuable,
right?
Yeah.
And so, we do have students come to us and say that they got like a call from the government saying they have to do X, Y, Z, or they're going to, they're going to get deported. Somebody's going to come after you. And we always just tell students, like, whenever we hear that whenever we hear a student tell us that the government communicated with them via phone, we know it's a scam.
Right.
Because the government does not do that.
Exactly.
So,
no phone calls from the government.
Yeah, no phone calls. It's going to be mostly just like snail mail. Now, with things becoming more electronic, I do think with specific things like applying for employment authorization, there might be some email communication you get from USCIS with that. But for the most part, you won't get calls, and you definitely won't get texts from the government.
Right. Do y'all have any tips for students to notice what are scams and what to do with that?
A few red flags of scam callers are, first of all, they'll catch you, I think, first in the morning or at night.
Right.
Yeah.
Very rarely during the day.
Yeah. Any solicitation of money or, saying you have to do X, Y, Z, and then we will do X, Y, Z for you. That's not how the government communicates.
Right.
And I would say also tell us too, because we do keep track of different scams that are going on, and we do, make other students aware of it. And, if you do fall victim to a scam, maybe that goes all the way through and you don't know it's a scam until, you lose something or something happens, then, we'll provide support in those types of situations. So definitely reach out to the ISSC if that's something that you do experience.
Yeah, and it's always a good idea to know how your status would be jeopardized.
Yeah.
Working off campus without authorization, working more than 20 hours during the semesters, and all the other things that we do hand out during events, or it's up on our website. So if you know that you haven't done any of those things, then there's no need for you to worry. But we understand why students worry, so just give us a call or drop in at the office, and we'll certainly do everything to help you.
Mm-hmm. So I have one more question for you, Vishvali. This is more specific because you are a student worker at the ISSC. So you do a little bit different things than Christina does.
Yes.
And just a little bit. So how has it been for you working in the ISSC? Because I know that you mentioned earlier your major in engineering, right? Which is very different.
Robotics.
Yeah, robotics is completely different from what you're doing now. So what advice would you give to students who are also interested to join the ISSC as a student worker?
Yeah, so what attracted me to ISSC was because I have worked in the customer acquisition side of it. So that was the main thing. And I've always loved exploring different cultures. So ISSC was my first point of contact when I got admitted into ASU. And to tell you the truth, I kind of manifested this job because when I first came to ISSC, I saw the front desk students.
Right.
And I was like, this is so cool. They're helping international students. They are getting to interact with students from more than 150 countries on a daily basis.
Right.
So I would love to do that. And bang, 4 months later, I was in the same position.
Aw, that's so nice.
Love it.
So my advice to students who would like to work with ISSC is to keep on volunteering, because that is how I did it. I volunteered with some of the staff members we have. Then they referred me for the job, and I passed the interview. Christina was one of my interviewers.
Aww.
I didn't know that she would be my boss then. But my first impression was, wow, she's so beautiful. That she is. And she's a great boss too, yeah. And I'm not saying this because I have to. Not that I have
Say,
to.
sure.
No, but there's a lot to learn from her.
Right.
Yeah, and
right.
I keep telling her that I've learned all of this from you, and I would love to learn more. She also has trainings for us. So that's an added advantage, because I am getting trained in the soft skills part of the job also.
Right.
Because wherever you go, especially in engineering, the soft skills are the most important part.
Right.
And customer acquisition, customer retention is highly important in our industry, because it is still nascent. Robotics, it is like we are still in the 90s of what the software industry was. So we need to acquire investors and clients and customers. That is why these are the soft skills that I've acquired through this job. So
One of something that I'm very passionate about, and something that's very important to me is putting students in positions to get opportunities, right?
Right.
But also I graduated with my master's degree straight into the pandemic in May 2020. And so,
wow.
And I was in the international field, right? International education field. So there was hiring freezes everywhere, right? But I've always been somebody who's had a lot of jobs, who's really valued work ethic. I have always had a lot of things going on, right? And so I've had a lot of experiences. But when I graduated school and I started to interview, I realized how I had this weakness of not really being able to bridge all of my experience together and articulate to somebody how the skills that I've learned in all of my jobs are gonna help me in this job, right? And so I kind of learned the hard way. I had like hundreds of failed interviews, right? Dozens of failed interviews, hundreds of applications. But now I'm in a position where where I'm a hiring manager, right? And I'm able to give people that professional mentorship, really. And so being able to, most of my student workers are not in international education. They have no interest of working in higher ed, right? The majority of them are in the STEM field, right? But how can we like take the things that we learn in the student worker job and be able to articulate them to a future employer? Right. So that you can show that you do have some job experience and you have learned some skills that are going to help you no matter where you go. Yeah. And so that is what a lot of our trainings are based around, and a lot of the work that we do together, because I don't want this to just be a student worker job. I want the whole team to really get something out of it and to remember their experience working with us.
A thing that I would like to add is working at ISSC is considered as a leadership experience by employers too. I've had employers come up to me saying, you have to put this experience even though it is not related to engineering. Because this is like a leadership position. Amongst thousands of students, hundreds of applications, why were you selected?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. To put it into perspective, every time I post a job posting, I get around 400 to 500 applications.
That's a lot.
And I usually have no more than like 6 spots available. So when Vishvali applied, I got 500 applications, and she was selected out of that, right? And I don't even think you were a referral at that point. I think we just picked you out of the pool. So that's a big, really big deal, right?
Yeah,
you were selected out of hundreds and hundreds of applications. And so, I want students to leave our office being able to articulate everything they've learned. Like the cross-cultural communication that we do, right? Having to communicate with people from all over the world with different understandings. They're coming up to us with, a different perspective maybe, and having to meet people where they're at every day is a skill set that is good in every job.
Yeah. I think it's a very important skill to have. You were going to say something?
Yeah, and though this is just a student worker's job, it might seem like that, but I know for a fact that many of the managerial skills that can be acquired on this job, I'm sure Christina would agree, we need to do crisis management, we need to do crowd management, we need to be the bridge between the different teams. So that is how a manager's job, a daily job looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the transferable skills that we acquire, which will certainly put us, the student workers, ahead when it comes to others who maybe have worked, who haven't had this leadership experience in the ISSC.
Yeah, and I feel like for students who have, like, for example, no experience at all, it's a good base for them to start building their blocks.
Absolutely.
And understanding the whole workforce and how it is and how it functions.
How it functions in this country.
Yeah, because it's very different. I bet from, like, I'm from Malaysia, so it's definitely very different from the US and from India as well. So helping them to get an understanding of the different perspective and how things work over here, I think is super, super important when they leave after they graduate into the actual workforce and into their fields.
It's a great way of building your network also.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Academic-wise and socially, both, it really enhances that.
Some of my closest friends are whom I work with every day in the ISSC.
Same.
We hang out on weekends, we go out for dinners. So that is how you build a community as an international student. And that's my support system.
The beautiful thing about the international student community is you guys come from all over the world, right? There's so many differences, but you have this shared experience of coming to the U.S., right? And everything that entails.
Right.
And so it's so important to find community around that. And so many of you guys have been so great about being leaders in the community right now. So, so important.
So I would like to also add that we have job openings all through the year. So we just closed the application process about 2 weeks back. So we will be opening in, I think, 3 months from now.
Probably, So we don't do it on any set schedule, but we so a full team for us is about 25 student workers, but we have all types of things happen. Students will get internships, students graduate, right? All different types of things happen. So sometimes students will stay with us for a semester, a year, maybe a whole 4 years. Like, it really just depends. So we'll open it back up when we have availability.
So for students who would like to apply to the ISSC, what advice would you give them?
So we hire all through the year. So we might open up some positions, I think, 2 or 3 months from now. So we don't have a set timeline for it. But we always recommend students to keep checking up on the portal. And they should keep volunteering with our office so that they can then get referrals, as we discussed before. And because out of thousands of applications, those are the ones that are going to get the eyes of the recruiter, as we like to call it.
Yeah, because, like, especially, like, if someone they've worked with, they know the name, it's easier to give that recommendation and endorsement, per se, for that job.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we will ask staff for if they have any referrals, right, for the front office. So a lot of times Haley will give us volunteers, right, that she wants to bring up, and other staff members will do the same. So because we have so many applicants a lot of the time, and we even get more referrals than we have positions. Sometimes we'll just go for referrals.
Yeah.
It really kind of depends on the season, how much hiring we have to do,
Right.
And you know what our office needs are at the end of the day. But I tend to gravitate towards referrals of other staff members for sure. I think it's a really good sign if you've already built a relationship with a supervisor in ISSC.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they've seen your work ethic, and
yes.
how you've been doing,
Yeah.
and also like if it's a compatible match for that team specifically.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And we do. You know, I wish that I could hire 12,000 international students just because they're international students, right? But, you know, we want to see some interest in the work outside of, you know, we all international students have some type of personal anecdote with it, but we like to see something a little bit beyond that, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of what we look for.
Yeah. For the STEM majors, like they have HR round in the MNCs like Google, Meta. So volunteering for ISSC is the HR round.
Nice, nice. That's a good way to put it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is my final thing before we all wrap it up. Do each of you have any advice or any messages that you would like to give to the students incoming students or current students who's watching this video right now?
After you?
Yeah. I'll say welcome, right? Welcome to the United States. We're super excited to host you here. I would say give yourself time to adjust. Know that it's going to be an adjustment period, and lean on the international student community here at ASU because it's something really special. So definitely lean into your community, but also, you know, integrate into the greater ASU community as well. So give yourself time to adjust and know it'll be an adjustment. But, you know, I think at ASU especially, there really is something for everybody here. So kind of just find your clique.
Right.
And read up on your immigration processes. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So advice from me is, first of all, be aware, be self-aware, be aware of the state you're in, be aware of the regulations. Even if Arizona state permits the local people.
You are bound by federal regulations.
Yes.
So with that, you're bound by federal regulations.
And also read up. Read up what you want to know about. Read about how you want to go further into OPT, then STEM extension, H1B, whatever it is, just read up, be aware of it. And also read up the documents that we send you. Read your I-20s, read your EAD cards, and make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are lined, because even if the spelling is wrong or there's some mistake in it, then that could be a problem in the future. So we need to future-proof ourselves.
Right.
And also remember to sign your travel I-20s.
Make sure you sign them, guys.
Yes, sign your own I-20, please.
Don't ask your friend to sign them.
Yes.
You sign them.
Yeah, FERPA law.
FERPA law. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor working with you and talking and having this conversation.
Same for
I've had
us.
so much fun. And thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for
Our
having us.
pleasure.
I really appreciate you guys taking your time off your busy schedules instead of being in the office. So thank you once again.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
to you too.
It's been a good change from the office.
Yeah.
New lighting, new setup.
A little break from the 4,500 CVS check.
True.
Exactly.
And with that, I will see you guys in the next podcast. Bye-bye.